Welcome back to yet another episode of Aspiring Creator, where we talk about all of the stuff that's happened since last week in all the kind of behind the scenes world of running a YouTube channel, social media, content creation, influencer marketing, whatever you want to call it. Essentially, I write a list of all the things that have happened since last week, and we just chat through them in no specific order, and we will just get cracking with this week's one. So some of these are following on from previous weeks where I've kind of spoken about them. But this week, one of the things I noted down was editing costs. Editing is very much at the top of our kind of list of things we're dealing with this week in terms of editors and how much work is involved in creating an edit. And I thought I'd just ask the group of my friends in our little WhatsApp chat how much people are paying for their editing. And it was very, very interesting because there were answers as low as like $50 to $100 for a long form video, up to like $1,000 for like the highest end production possible and like beyond. And obviously within that, there's a mixture. Some people are obviously doing it themselves. Some people are hiring externally. Some people are paying, when I said like $1,000, that's like $1,000 per video, so per long form video. And some people are doing much shorter videos. Some people are like outsourcing the videos per project, per video. Some people are hiring full time. Like we've got here, we have full time editors. And so it's just we're kind of reassessing here and just figuring out what's the best use of our time, what's best use of our money to get maximize the value essentially out of the editing. And we want to make sure that if we're paying a full time editor, then it is, I guess, the costs are the same, if not better than paying separately. So you want to make sure that if you're paying full time, then you're getting for us, we post one video a week, so 4 videos a month, roughly speaking. And if it's going to cost us like $1,000 a video, it's just it's going to be super expensive. I just found one thing to ask here, I guess, if you leave comments down below in the comment section on YouTube, or I think if you can leave a comment on the podcast, or feel free to DM me as well. Interested to know what your editing costs are. Like, are you hiring full time? Are you paying individual per video costs, per short costs? Like, what's the difference between short form and long form? I'm just trying to get to the lay of the land of like what's normal. That was firstly on the list. I know there wasn't much information there. I've literally just kind of asked that the other day, and that's kind of the wide pricing range I've discovered so far. So $50 to $100 per video to like $1,000. Very, very wide range. And obviously that depends on video length, expertise of the editor, and all that kind of thing. The thing that I guess we've been struggling with is where we've had, our remote editor's been with us for such a long time, and he's great. He edits really well. We've been struggling to deliver on time at the moment, which is the discussion we're having at the moment. But the longer you're with someone, then naturally the pay will increase over time. But it gets to the stage where like the pay increases then kind of get you to the place where actually it's just cheaper to just go and hire someone here locally and pay them. Like the reason for us outsourcing and looking for a remote editor was, like most people do, they're looking for good people at affordable rates or cheaper rates than it is to hire in this country, because the cost of labor in this country, in the UK, is much higher than finding over remote, like in like Indian editors and what's the place that everyone goes to, Philippines and those kind of places where getting a relatively low rate for a video is very, very, very good for them over there, just because of the way their currency works and cost of living is so much lower over there and that kind of thing. So that's very much where we are at right now, trying to figure out what we're doing, in that we're still trying to figure out what we're doing with like the whole editing situation. Next on my list, and this is just going to be another rant because I had this crops up again this week. So a few weeks ago, maybe even it would have been a few months ago now, 2 months ago or so, we ran into issues with our accountant. The accountant missed payroll, so it came to like paying all of our staff here, and I had no information. I couldn't pay people, so I kind of guessed and went on what I paid them last month and just repaid them that amount. Obviously complained to the accountant, and they jumped on it all of a sudden and fixed it. But the fact they missed such a basic thing like running payroll was a bit of a wake up call to me. They were also missing other things. We actually we usually have a annual catch up where before the year ends. So we run a limited company here. Before the limited company year ends, I have a chance to catch up with the accountant. We look at what the profit's going to be, and therefore how much we're going to pay in corporation tax, and what can we do to like minimize that. So can we pay into our pensions and then bring the profitability down to the company, and therefore we pay less tax. And because I'm busy, it's like super tech season from September onwards, which is when our year end is, And because, again, our accountant forgot and they didn't do that regular check-in, I am going to pay the most amount of corporation tax I've ever paid in my life of running businesses so far. That's more than running like £1 million plus IT business, and more than I've ever paid in this YouTube business. And so like that's a huge cost that I have been preparing for. I've been putting the money away, so that's not a problem. But normally, the way this goes is I have the money there. We try and save what we can by like paying into other accounts and pensions, or like buying gear and equipment to reduce our profit. But we just didn't have a chance to do that. So there's going to be a wad of cash that leaves the company that could go towards something better, but it can't because they kind of forgot to do that. So the thing that happened this week was that that was all done and dusted. We found a new accountant. They've taken over. They've been brilliant so far. And the agreement was that as like an apology for the mistakes they made before, the previous accountant was going to submit our final VAT return. So they were going to submit the VAT return for like the quarter ending in September. And they would close down another business of mine that we just wanted to do the year-end accounts and then just close it off because I'm kind of just running it down now. And the VAT return was done. So that was filed and all cool. And then in the last couple of weeks, I've been chasing them regularly to get the business closed down. And you have to like sign a couple of forms and it gets sent off and what have you. And I finally got them to do it. Again, it was like me chasing. I phoned in, I emailed, I direct messaged the owner, constant chasing. And only finally did I get a reply where they, sent me the paperwork. I signed it, again, thought it was dealt with. And then the other day, like 2 days ago, a letter arrived in the post saying that I've been fined a point for not submitting my VAT return. My VAT return's late, apparently. So they didn't submit my VAT return. No one communicated anything with me. And so I think within the UK here, if you get 4 points, then you get your first fine of like £200 or £300. So it's not huge, but like having run businesses for like 15 odd years or so now, I've never missed a submission. I've never been fined points. I've never had any issues with anything. And so for me to like get to this stage, whereas again, something as basic as filing a VAT return really, really wound me up. Really wound me up. And it's just like, these are the basic things that should be done, should be very, very easy for anybody to do. And they've missed it. So I kind of kicked off, so to speak. I got very grumpy. I sent a very shirty email to the business owner. I left a LinkedIn post complaining because I kind of got to the stage where I'm like, what do I need to do to get something to like be done? Do I have to leave a public facing review? Because I feel like this is the only way they're actually going to listen, because every time I speak to the business owner, every time I email in, the general response is, oh, it sounds like the team is taking care of it, so I'll let them take care of it. I'm like, no, the reason why I'm getting in contact is because they're not doing it. And in fact, there's like one particular guy that I think things go through where he just seems to forget stuff constantly, all the time. He's the guy that always is meant to like give me my phone calls and return things and file things. And he just never seems to remember. It's like, oh, sorry, he forgot. And then I send him an email. Oh, sorry, he's out the office. And so just things get left for whatever reason. So yeah, late filing the VAT return and left a pretty shirty LinkedIn status message. And so then, to be fair, the business owner then emailed me and called me and reached out, and we were emailing back and forth for like an hour or two trying to fix this thing. And she was explaining what happens. Supposedly, what happened was I signed up with the new accountants, and the old accountants thought the new accountants were doing it, even though they didn't ask the question, are you doing it? And in fact, they specifically asked me the question, and I said, no, the agreement is you're going to do it because you've agreed to do it for free. And I confirmed that with the new accountant because they asked me, and I said, no, they've agreed to do it, so they're taking care of it. And that was that. Like no other like discussions were to be had. And so the response I had was, well, they thought the new accountants were doing it, so they kind of like just didn't do it, just forgot about it, and didn't bother to confirm that with anybody. And then all of a sudden they were locked out, apparently, is the message that they were telling the owner. However, they weren't locked out because I actually locked them out like a few days ago, maybe a week ago, because my old bookkeeper reached out to me because she's very like on it, like OCD, all the boxes ticked. And she was on it saying like, oh, hey, we still have access, by the way. So can you like lock us out? I was like, oh, yeah, cool. Thanks for the reminder. Locked her out, locked the old accountants out, removed their permissions from our Zero account and what have you. And thought, yeah, great, absolutely fine. So I know they weren't locked out. They had access to the accounts. Had they tried to check, they could have checked and seen if the VAT, return was filed, but they didn't. So the message I got back was basically, we thought they were doing it and we were locked out. I was like, well, only half of that is at least true because you weren't locked out. And even if you thought they were doing it, should have phoned, should have done something about it. So that was one of the things. And then she was obviously trying to like rebuild bridges or what have you, and trying to fix things for us. And I was like, what else can I do? It's like, well, can you actually make sure they've actually closed down the other company? And so what came of that was that apparently that they had, I'd signed the paperwork and they were going to put it in the post and like send it off to the, HMRC and get it closed down that way. And she was like, oh, we can just like, sign the online thing and you could just, you'll get an email, click a button and digitally sign it and then it'll be like automatically done. So, well, yeah, like why didn't we do this already? I'm really confused why there would be physically printing and posting stuff in the post to HMRC that can take weeks or months. Like, really, really confusing. So within a matter of like, again, within that hour, I had an email, clicked on it, signed my authorization, sent it off. And like the next day I had an email from HMRC saying, yeah, it's been processed. So I know HMRC have it now. And so just like, it just wound me up because all this stuff that's going wrong. And I think I muted her on my like LinkedIn feed just because it was just winding me up because bad accounts, and she's basically sat there on LinkedIn trying to sell her digital accountants club of like, sign up on my course where I can teach you how to be an amazing accountant. And like, yet in the meantime, she's not like, I used to run a service-based business. If you had a client who complained and was really unhappy and was leaving, you would sit there personally and make sure that compliance, offboarding, and everything you agreed to be done as an apology would be done. But it's like, no, cool. Team's taking care of that, even though the team was the problem that was the complaint about. Team's taking care of that. Let's get back to like selling and getting people to sign up to this other thing that I'm now focused on rather than my own business. So like, yeah, super frustrated. That's just like me having a bit of a rant for a while because it annoyed me this week. And hopefully that's the last of it. So I actually spoke to my new accountant about this whole thing, and we sent like 3 or 4 WhatsApp messages back and forth. And within 5 minutes, I'd submitted my own VAT claim, logged into Xero, connected it to HMRC, clicked a couple of buttons, created an invoice, done. Like, it's submitted. Amazing. So I know like the previous accountant, I think, had done all of the legwork. So obviously they'd done all the stuff. They just hadn't submitted it, and this was the whole problem. So they'd done the work. They just didn't click the button to freaking submit the VAT return. Therefore, I was late. So I did that part. It's filed. Hopefully that's the last we see of them. And I will stop moaning about accounts from this day forward. Next up, something more fun, shooting a Porsche. So we shot a video, or kind of shot a video. Yesterday, I did a whole day's shoot on site or like out and about with my wife's car. So I bought her a car like 6 months ago, and it's the electric Macan EV Porsche, whatever, Porsche. And I was going to shoot hey, here's my new car. And then when I actually shot that video and we put a rough edit together, watched it back, and it just came off as like, hey, look at my new car, look at me, I've spent loads of money and got a cool car. I just don't want it to come off like that. So we've revisited, we've done like a 6 months later approach of like, hey, this is our life experience with the car for 6 months as a properly family car. And I've had the benefit of being able to capture a load more footage of like, chucking bikes on the back to go to centre parks and real out and about like things, kids, the car full of luggage and suitcases and all sorts of stuff. But because I want to do a bit of a showcase, I guess, that we can make car content, the agency we work with, they've been approached by a couple of car brands, and they actually asked me and say, like, do we have like any car content we can show them as like to demonstrate what we can do with car content? The only stuff I have is from like maybe 3 years ago or so, 3 or 4 years ago. It wasn't very well shot because that was 3 or 4 years ago with me still trying to learn stuff, and videos obviously have come on a lot since 3 or 4 years ago in terms of like the way we shoot, the way we script, the quality, the color grading, just everything, the storytelling. So I paid, I think it was like a couple of grand or so for a video production company to come out with me for the day's shoots. And it was really eye-opening, really organized. Not saying we're not organized, but they literally came out with like a shot list. They had the locations. They'd already been out to those locations the day before to scope them out, whether they can fly drones in those locations. If they needed permission to fly drones, they would then reach out and get those permissions. So that was all like pre-agreed. I think we were shooting in near a clay pigeon shooting range. So they had like warned them and notified them that we were flying drones near their clay pigeon shooting range. There was also some like not Navy, RAF operations going on where they were like flying helicopters very, very low, which was very cool to see. But yeah, as soon as we saw that, we pulled the drones down, or they pulled the drones down. And yeah, it was just such a good day, so well organized. They did some shots where they had the production lady that was working with us was like strapped into the boot of the car and was taking some shots on the like DJI Ronin. Is it 4D? The big cool like chicken's head gimbal camera thing. And the shots they've got looked incredible from what I've seen so far. And so the arrangement we've got with them is I just want to like pay you to come out, get a load of shots, and literally just give us the footage, the raw footage, everything in like S-Log or D-Log or C-Log, whichever cameras they were shooting on. And then we're going to go and put it all together. So that was a nice experience. It was kind of a lot more laid back. We found like we were finishing at the locations we kind of finished early at each location, so we had time to move on. Nothing felt rushed. We stopped off for lunch, and we were finished like I think like half an hour early as well because we were staying for the full day. The kind of benefit of shooting car videos at this time of the year is that you get the like the sunrise and the sunset at both ends of the day without having to stay up super early or late. The risk is, though, as we found out, is that the weather can be a bit challenging. So we shifted the date a day before because it was meant to be horrible weather the day after. So we moved the date, and that was very, very lucky. We were very, very lucky with the weather. So I paid to have the car cleaned the day before, and then the first location was fine. And as I then drove from the first to the second location, this stinking huge lorry, whatever it was, just I've never seen it before. It was driving along and mud was just flying off it everywhere, off the big fat tires. It was just throwing mud onto the road, and it literally caked the entire side of the car, some of the bumper, in like thick mud. And it's just like you can't wipe that off. So yeah, there's some very clean shots to start off with of the car at least. And the night shots will look kind of nice because they'll be dark and you can't see as much. But yeah, it kind of was a shame. Had literally paid like £200 or £300 to clean it properly and detail it and everything to make it look perfect for the video, and then it just got freaking ruined. So that's going to get mixed together with all of the other footage we've got, all the family footage, drone footage as well. So I actually bought a DJI. What's it called? I got the 4 Pro, Mavic 4 Pro, which is a really, really good drone. This is the controller for it. So I previously had like the Mavic Air 2S or whatever it was. This video production company, they actually brought the Avata FPV drone, which is going to be very cool to see those shots. They brought the Mini Pro 4 or Pro 3 drone, which I was a little bit disappointed about, given that like we're paying a lot of money for professional production, and they brought like the mini drone. But I know there's more regulations around the big pro drones to get out. But we'll see. We'll see what the drone clips look like. I basically found some footage that they'd shot on a drone before and said like that's the shot I want. It was like the car driving down, trees either side. So there's like some really cool shots here. So I'm not gonna complain about their gear until I've seen the footage. So we'll see. And they're a bunch of lovely guys. I've known the business owner for a very long time. We just haven't ever actually gone ahead and done any work. But yeah, I actually bought a DJI Mavic 4 Pro. I put it up in the air, got a few shots, looks beautiful. It literally turned up like the day before. So I hadn't like got anything set up. I haven't like configured the color or the quality. I literally put it in like 4K, 60, auto, everything, and just started flying around. It has 3 lenses on it, which is incredible. The only issue with my shots I got is that I quite like the look of the 2.5x lens when I was like looking at the monitor, and actually as the light was starting to go, it looks very noisy. So I should have then stuck to the 1x lens, which had like an aperture of f2 rather than f2.8. So I had that little bit of extra headroom in terms of getting some better quality. So yeah, that was the fun Porsche video. So our plan with that is that's going to get posted. To give you an idea of timescales, we're posting that video on the 26th of December. So the kind of I wasn't really sure what to post through Christmas and New Year's and things this year, and that felt like a good time to post that kind of video, because like you're not gonna, who's gonna want an iPhone review or a phone review of any sorts or any real like product review. So it feels like that could be a bit of a like fun thing to watch whilst you're sat on the sofa and you've had a few too many drinks or you've had too much Christmas food or something. Just feels like it might be something that people might watch over Christmas. And it'd be like a long tail SEO base, people looking for long-term ownership content of this Macan EV that they might be considering to purchase, which there isn't much of. There are basically the reviews from the car when it first came out, and this is the same actually in obviously the world of mobile phones. Is that there's a lot of reviews when first things come out, And then there's normally like a second set of reviews from people that have then kept the device. And then they're in like a month later or 6 months later. And those videos can do quite well too, because there's actually a lot less people that keep the device for the 6 months. And so you have like a unique experience to be able to explain. And so therefore with these cars, the exact same thing. Loads of reviewers get like the press car when the cars are launched. They get invited to all the events and all those kind of things. But there are like nearly nobody that does the 6 months later reviews on cars, because of course it's a really freaking expensive car. You can't afford to just keep cars for 6 months, and you're not going to be driving that car for 6 months, and you can't exactly switch cars around like you do mobile phones. So yeah, that's the whole car situation. Next on my list, back to our editing. There's a couple of things here. Firstly, we're really looking to simplify our edits, and this is going back to like how long it takes us to produce a long form video, how complicated the videos have gone. My remote editor was saying he was working like 10 to 12 hours a day, and we still can't deliver videos on time. Like we should have the video that we're posting next Friday by like tomorrow, technically speaking. And so we're always behind, and that's why we're trying to switch around like how we're doing things. So the plan has kind of been like, we've been watching, taking a lot of inspiration from people like Andres Vedoza, E from This Is E, just like looking at their content and see how it's shot. And we've noticed that there's a lot less footage, so a lot less actual video clips, at least in the videos. Obviously, they might have shot a load and just not like included them. But what's actually used is there's a lot less clips than we're using. Like when I'm reading a line off the teleprompter or reading a script, there might be like 1 or 2 shots, just solid held shots with some movement in them as you're telling the story, versus in our videos where there are like 15 to 20 clips, because it's just blitzed through so quickly to keep the engagement and keep the interaction in the videos. And so we're looking to slow things down, to use the slow footage and actually just focus our time instead on getting higher quality shots. So like actually making the shot lists, again, like taking inspiration from the video production company that we worked with earlier this week. Like they produced a shot list with the gear they're using, the lens they're using, if it's a wide angle or a close up or detail shot. So we're going to try and start learning how we can implement that in our process, so that when we come to shooting the B-roll for the videos, we can start like kind of cracking through and ticking things off a list. And again, getting less shots, but spending more time setting the shots up, getting the lighting right, making sure the product, the object is well lit, making sure it's like all in focus. Because again, like when you're looking at a small camera monitor, the temptation is you go straight for like an f2 or an f2.8. And then when you actually look at it on a big screen, you realize that the f2.8 has only meant we're just shooting a video on the ROG Ally today, that the button or the controller is in focus, but the rest of the console is out of focus. So just making sure that that's all lined up and products are in focus. So again, that's something we're looking to work on and improve. Something that I think we've definitely also played with, and this is something I said that we've been wanting to do for a while, and I've done it. He thinks, although it seems to work kind of sometimes, is DaVinci Power Bins. So I had the idea a few weeks ago to drag the entirety of our NAS, which is our rack of hard drives. It stores all of our video files, A-roll, B-roll, literally everything from this year, last year, and even like previous years as well. My thought was to drag all of this into DaVinci Power Bins. And so DaVinci Power Bins are shared between all projects. Because one thing we have with our remote editor, for example, is we'll have the video projects, we'll have the video clips, we've shot the B-roll clips for it, and then he normally has to go hunting for old clips from previous videos. He's got to go like into the folders, find the clips, import those clips into the video as new clips, and it's just like really time consuming. But so what I've done, like I said, I've dragged the folder into DaVinci Power Bins. It took a long time for it to like go in there and process and like whatever it's going to do, index it. And it seems to work. So now we can drag files out of DaVinci Power Bins into projects. We can also add keywords and tags and things onto those clips. Sometimes it seems to lose those tags at the moment, so we're still trying to figure out exactly what works and what doesn't work properly. It also seems to hang DaVinci the first time you go in and search for something until it's like almost re-indexed it, and that can take maybe 5-10 minutes the first time every day when you go in, but kind of once it's done. So we're trying to figure that out a bit more. But yeah, that means we can literally have all of our archive stuff readily available, and we should, hopefully, this is my like hope, we can get to the stage where we're doing an edit and we need a shot of, I don't know, like the Secret Lab desk we're sat on. You can literally just go into DaVinci Power Bins, search for Secret Lab, and all the Secret Lab footage will show up because it's been tagged or it's been named as Secret Lab, or there's a keyword in there for Secret Lab. And with the keywords, you have to like keyword them yourselves. It's not like doing AI stuff to detect. And so like this is working the way I hoped it would work. Just there are a few bugs to iron out. There's the delay with getting into it. There is the sometimes like the tags don't seem to take because when you're searching for things that they're not always showing up. So it doesn't quite work perfectly, but we're definitely making some progress on it, and we're gonna take a bit more time with that as well. So I think that is really everything I had this week, rather than blabbering on and making stuff up. Hopefully that was useful for everyone listening. Would love to know your experience. Also, any questions, please do let me know. When I get a chance, I'm also going to arrange. I've had a couple of people message me on the back of the last one saying, yeah, like a Zoom webinar where I do one of these like podcast things, but I do it live, and we can all just basically have a big Zoom chat, and we can chat and ask questions and answer questions and trying to figure things out. And we will live there. So thank you so much for stopping by. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. And I will see you in the next one. Cheers. Bye-bye.